Welcome to the Justin Ng Show, where real entrepreneurs and investors reveal how they turn humble beginnings into high-impact ventures. From bold moves to capital raises, we unpack what it really takes to build and scale greatness. Let's go check it out. Can creative and seller financing help you buy deals without using your own cash or credit? Today, we're breaking down real strategies you can apply after this episode. You'll hear the exact steps he uses to turn a seller's no into terms you can afford. Welcome back to the Justin Ng Show. I'm joined by Mark Pantak, a creative finance and notes expert with 300 plus transactions across houses, notes, and apartments. Guided by industry legends like Jimmy Napier, Peter Fortunato, Mark structures win-win deals, coaches new investors, and shows how to work with collateral the smart way. Mark, welcome to the show. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Mark, for joining me today.
Good morning.
For this podcast that I'm doing. So I would like to start your journey from where you were before your humble beginnings to where you are right now. I know you have a lot of experiences. You mentioned there was 40 years of going through all the trials and errors, and if you could give us a whole higher level overview of your journey and from where you came from and how you came to here.
It's hard to believe how quickly the years fly by. Mm-hmm. And I heard when I was much younger that, you better get going because the time is going to fly by your life. And when you're young, you don't have that perspective or understanding. And so now I'm in my late 60s and it's like I was your age just the other day. Yeah. And time goes. So I'll start my journey back in 1980. I grew up in Michigan. I went to college. It took me 5 years to cram that 4-year curriculum into 5 years because I was working. Okay. And I became a member of a business fraternity, Alpha Kappa Psi business fraternity. And part of the thing I learned from that is the importance of networking, the importance of association with others and building relationships early on. That's part of the reason I joined that business fraternity. One of the opportunities that came to me as a result of that is that one fraternity brother would get selected to have a business that was renting refrigerators in the dorms. So how I paid for a good part of my senior year in college is I had 400 refrigerators that were rented. Never done this before. That's another big thing. Your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. Constantly get outside your comfort zone and associate with people. I'll be talking about that in a moment too, the importance of that. But what happened was because I had positioned myself, and this was my senior year, I had that opportunity. And with that opportunity, I paid for half my college my senior year. Mm-hmm. So renting out the 400 refrigerators, our fraternity house, we stored them and they paid, helped cover the cost of that. And then when came season, everybody going back to school, the company that I worked for as an independent contractor, they did all the marketing to all the parents and all the students and everything. So now when the students were arriving, we had to get a system in place to deliver all these refrigerators, which again, I'd never done before. And the system involved volunteers, which I'd never done before. The volunteers were fraternity brothers, wow. Which were not always reliable. So that was a challenge as well, growth opportunity. And I had to rent 2 big U-Haul trucks to load. I had to get people to clean and load these refrigerators, take them to designated locations, fill out the paperwork correctly, collect the money, and I had to make sure that the money was correct. I was shorted about $500. Some fraternity brother may have pocketed it. I don't know. It's just missing. Yeah. But that came out of my part. Okay. So those were valuable lessons early on. Going even further back, my very first business, 9 years old. Wow. 9 years old, I saw there are the kids that were cutting grass. I said to my dad, I'll never forget this. At around 9 years old, I said, maybe 8 even, I said my other friends, they were getting this thing called an allowance, which I never heard of before. And he got that look on his face because he grew up in the Depression and his father left when he was 7 years old. So his attitude was, allowance, see that broom? Get to work. See that shovel? See that rake? You want money? Get to work. That's how you get an allowance. Do some work, contribute. So the starting place early on as a young child, you want money? Contribute something. That was a very valuable background for me to have a father like that. And so as I did that, I got thinking, well, what else could we do? So at 9, I started having a lemonade stand. I started cutting yards. Yeah. I had the kid that delivered news. Anything I could do to make money because I was very interested in having some money at a young age. Mm-hmm. By 10, 11 years old, I'd moved into management. And so part of how I did that is I had this idea. I recruited the other neighborhood kids. There was a backyard that was fenced. And I said, let's use your background. And we created this whole festival type thing where kids, and I said, the rest of you go in the rest of the neighborhood and recruit the other kids to come and let them know about it. So one kid had a mini bike and had a little thing right next to us. So we charged 10 cents for one ride, 3 times around for a quarter. We went to the state park and got green apples, picked them out. Then I got my first business loan from my mom for $5 to get caramel apples, to melt the caramel, to dip the green apples in there and make them more valuable. Perception,
Wow,
value.
okay.
This is 11 years old. Then on top of that, I told all the other kids, now save your popsicle sticks because we need those popsicle sticks to stick them in the apples.
Right.
So then we were selling these apples, and we had it where you could win. You could throw darts for balloons. We had all these different activities like a fair and festival, and I organized the whole thing. And then after everything was said and done, paid the loan back, covered all the expenses. There's about $5 profit. Well, back in that time, $5 was pretty good, but then got to be fair. So you got $1, you got $1. Everybody got $1 and I got $1. It was my business idea. And I thought, something doesn't seem quite right that everybody else, we all contributed, but I was the leader and I made the same as everybody else. And that bothered me even at that young age. Something didn't seem quite right, that I should have got more.
Yeah.
Since I was the one, it would have happened without me. But that was an early lesson early on. So then by the time I was, I want to say 12 years old, I had an interest in wildlife. And we had 18 acres we bought out in the country. So I studied game birds at 12 years old. And we had ringneck pheasants, bobwhite quail, churkey partridge, mallard ducks. And I was the youngest licensed game bird breeder in the state of Michigan. And I remember going to Michigan State, which had a big thing about the whole nature and outdoors and all that. And it's like they had select the environment with the animal, with the squirrel and the bird and the deer and everything. And I'm like, there's these college kids and they're confused and they don't understand. And I'm going, boom, 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 boom. How do you not know this if you're in college? Because I was so into it.
Yes.
I was so interested. So then another turning point, because I was very shy and introverted for the most part, but I liked reading. I liked learning. I was interested in that. So as a result of that, I remember I'm watching the Olympics. And as I'm watching the Olympics, I got thinking, I'm 14, 15 years old. How is it we got the United States, which is a huge country, we got Soviet Union, which is a huge country, and then we got East Germany, which is a small country, but the East Germans are getting as many silver, gold, all these medals in the Olympics like the other two big countries. How are they doing that? How is that even possible? So that thought stuck with me to learn. I'm curious, you know?
Yeah.
So we didn't have the internet. We didn't have a YouTube. We didn't have any of that kind of stuff. So I went to the library and I started studying in the library about East Germany and about their sports program. And I learned about a thing called sports psychology. You heard of sports psychology?
Yep.
So sports psychology has to do with the science of how they maximize sports potential and get the best performance out of their athletes. What I learned is they had something called autogenics. Now later, I learned there's also a thing called steroids. And that may have been a factor too. But largely at that time, the research I did was this. Your mind is a supercomputer. And athletically, your body will follow the instructions of your mind. And if you improve the programming and your perception and your belief, things that you do in terms of like catching a ball and all kind of athletic performance has very much to do with your mental programming. There's a mind-body connection. There's lots of science that's come out since that time. As a matter of fact, Dr. Deepak Chopra, who's got all kind of fantastic research and work that he's done and books and so on. I've studied with him. I study with everybody. And so in high school, I was too short for basketball, not coordinated enough for baseball. I didn't have the other, my dad was gone, didn't have the other kid, playing. And then football, I was too small. My parents said, I weighed 119 pounds.
Wow.
And so basically, my parents said, nope, you're not going to play football. And I tried basketball. I was too short, too small. I can steal the ball, and I throw it to you, and you score.
Okay.
So in all these sports, to try to belong, to be associated, and in baseball, if you're not good already, you don't get to play. So the evolution of all this was, one day a kid said, you ought to go up for track. I said, I've already tried sports. They don't let you pay unless you're good already. No, track is different. Everybody gets to play, even if you're not any good. I go, really? That might be the sport for me, because I'm not very good. And I remember the coach was a little goofy, in my opinion. So he started out, he needed somebody to do the hurdles. And that was not a good fit for me, the hurdles, because it was speed and it was, but I tried it.
Yeah.
And very quickly I said, no. And so I knew that hurdles were not going to be it, but I was slow. So I said, well, maybe I could run long distance. So I ended up doing the 2-mile run. Now, when I started out doing the 2-mile run as a freshman, the 2-mile, it was 12 minutes plus. I was very slow, 12 minutes plus. But I kept working and improving and getting better. And then that combined with studying sports psychology, the next year I was under 11 minutes. And then I broke and I kept getting better. And what ended up happening is by my senior year, I'd learned, and I had a cassette tape. Back in the day, we had a cassette tape.
Yeah.
I had a timer, I had a pillow speaker. I had a 10-minute endless loop cassette tape I bought at Radio Shack. I don't know if you remember Radio Shack.
Yeah, I remember Radio Shack.
And so I'm studying, and I got a cassette tape, I got a timer, I've got a pillow speaker, I'm getting all this technology all set up, and it's going to play automatically as I fall asleep, when I go to sleep, and when I wake up. Because the unconscious mind is very receptive, and whatever you tell your unconscious mind with feeling, with emotion, with passion, with consistency, it will accept and believe and begin to go to work to implement in the most effective fashion. Isn't that powerful?
Yeah.
And this applies in every area of life.
Yeah.
This applies to health and weight. This applies to relationships. This applies to business and money and sales. Anything you name it, if you'll take control of your mind and give it better instructions, you'll get better results. It's that simple. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So what ended up happening in this journey is here I am, and so I studied this, and I had this cassette tape, and I kept rewriting the script, because we have a script for our life. So I said in the script, you're number one. You're the best. You run 5, 10, 15 miles every day. You're in the best condition your entire life. And here's the race from start to finish. And the gun goes off, and you're right there with the beginning of the crowd, and you stay right up with the leaders, and you're coming around, and now it's the final lap, and you're right there, and you're right at the show, and you kick, and you sprint, and you kick, and you sprint, and across, and you got first place in a new school record. And I kept giving that impression to my unconscious mind. Now, the important part of it was you have to do the implementation of the work. Some people think, oh, I'm just going to imagine stuff and do nothing, and it's going to work. It's going to fall in the sky. Well, no, I said I'm going to run 5, 10, 15 miles every day. So literally, I was 5 miles away from school, and I made arrangements with another kid who lived a half mile away to go take my bag in the morning with my books and my clothes. I'd run over to his house, leave it on the top of his car. He would take it, and then I would run 5 miles to school. I'd get there. I already had most of my stuff already in the locker. I'd take my shower. I had my change of clothes, and I'd get my stuff from him and put my fresh clothes, and I'd go to school. Then after school, we had the workout. We might run 5 miles in training with the team as a group. And then sometimes I ran 5 miles home as well.
Wow.
That was commitment.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. You got to have a burning desire. If anybody has not read the book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, you got to study every day over and over again that book. Because that book's one of the most important, to me, at least I'm a Christian. So the Bible and Think and Grow Rich are 2 of the most important books I've ever read, and they complement each other, in my opinion. Because Jesus said, if thou canst believe, all things are possible to him or her that believeth. And Napoleon Hill said, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, you can achieve. So as far as I'm concerned, from a personal development standpoint, Napoleon Hill is saying this, Jesus said this, but I've also studied every major world religion. And I see a common thread in every major world religion and the fundamental teachings about love, about belief, about relationships, so many different things. There's a commonality that I see. I focus on the commonality.
Right.
But anyways, for me, my Christian background and studying all that and understanding the importance of belief and faith, and so I just studied, and so it got to where I was going to go into psychology. Because I thought, well, that would be very interesting. So then I'm young, I'm in college, I'm in high school, I'm getting ready to go to college. What are you going to do? So as I studied that, I said, I learned that many psychologists work with mental ill people in mental hospitals.
Yeah.
I said, well, I don't think that's a good fit for me.
Okay.
So I'm like, what am I going to do? Because it was something in there, and I didn't know there's a thing called personal development. I read these books, and I was shocked the first time. There's this whole room full of people who read these books. Never occurred to me. And so I had this evolution, and the turning point was because, again, I still had issues. My dad liked to drink, had a lot of alcoholism in the family, and when he would come home drunk sometimes and he'd be angry, he would find me and beat the crap out of me to the point where I couldn't walk. I had welts on my legs. And it was so consistently traumatic that one of the things that happened, I developed a stutter. You'd never know I stuttered today. But through all this trauma, I developed a stutter, I developed panic attack, anxiety, things like that. I was shy and introverted, nervous. My hands would shake. I couldn't get a date. I'd never had a girlfriend all through high school, all through college. So I had to work on me. I had to heal me. So as I studied and read and learned and did all these things, when I graduated in college with a degree in finance, so they said, well, people are crazy, and especially crazy around money. That'd be a good combination of psychology and money. So I got my degree in finance. So I graduated on a Saturday, left on a Sunday. I was in Dallas, Texas on Monday. And being in Dallas, Texas on Monday, I came to Texas because I looked and I said, well, Florida's got nice weather, because in Michigan, it gets cold in the winter. Right, right now, it's January, February.
Yeah, I know.
It is a damp cold. It goes right down the bone. I'm saying, as soon as I can, I'm getting the heck out of here. I looked at Florida, but at the time, I'm like, 18 years old, and mostly old people in Florida. There's no real industry or business, and there wasn't much there in Florida back in like 1980. And then I looked at California. I'm like, wow, California, that'd be fantastic. But because you got the mountains, I love outdoors. You got the ocean, you got all this. It's beautiful and everything. But I went and looked at what the real estate was, because I want to get involved with real estate. A basic home, starter home, was $200,000. Who could afford that, and how could they go any higher? Yeah. The same starter home's $1.2 million today.
Yes.
Went up $1 million. Wow. But I didn't understand inflation, the importance of understanding that, and many different things, supply and demand, economics, all these different things. So one of the things that happened then is just to survive, because my two buddies, we all came down from Michigan. They each got a job immediately that first week. I would interview, and I got no callbacks because I couldn't maintain eye contact like I am right now. I would be nervous, I'd look away, and I'd stutter and everything else. They didn't call me back. So then I went back to Michigan, worked there for the summer, saved up some money. And then I came back and I bought, I'll never forget, an orange pickup truck with no air conditioning, because I said, give me the cheapest thing in your lot that nobody wants. Well, in Texas, nobody wants an orange pickup truck with no, it was a Datsun, Nissan today.
Yeah.
But I remember having that vehicle and thinking, well, I'll add the air conditioning later. Yeah. And I never did. In Texas, when it's 100 degrees in the summer.
Right, in the summer,
it was crazy. Got lots of stories I could tell about that. But back to the point. So here I am, security guard, making $3.25 an hour minimum wage. But in my mind, I'm thinking, well, this is ideal, because I can work 11 o'clock at night till 7 o'clock in the morning and avoid people.
Okay.
Now, guess what? The more you avoid people, the more you avoid money. Because people equal money.
Yeah.
Whatever money you want, somebody else has. And that includes raising capital, which I'll talk on before we're done here.
Okay.
So because I've raised millions of dollars, and I've studied with some of the top best people, how do you raise capital? Because the biggest thing that I hear people say all the time is, I don't have the money. Well, it doesn't matter. What do you mean it doesn't matter? Well, if you don't have the money, somebody else does. If you got the right deal, you got the right opportunity, but it also helps to have experience, track record, but also the importance of association with the right people. Right. And you can leverage off their track record. You can leverage off their net worth. You can leverage off their experience. You can leverage off their network of relationships. So the most important thing in all of life is building business relationships. That's why you just met me Thursday night.
Yes.
That's why we're here now.
Yes.
But I also am a big believer, write down what you want every day.
Okay.
So a lot of this was influenced early on. Here I'm a security guard, and somebody says to me, you need to read this book by Zig Ziglar. You ever heard of Zig Ziglar?
Yes.
So he said, Zig Ziglar, what kind of name is that? He's from Yazoo City, Mississippi, and he was poor, but he got selling pots and pans, and he became the top salesman. So when you're the top salesman, they ask you to speak, and he was a good speaker. He became a motivational speaker. And so that evolved into a whole speaking career where he's one of the highest paid speakers in the world, and he would fill stadiums with other speakers. And so I started out, I didn't know who he was. First step, get the book, read the book. So then somebody tells me, read every book he's got. So I'm reading the book, and the books are pretty good. They're okay, but not spectacular, but they're good books. As I'm reading the book, and I'm going to the library, because I'm broke. I have no money. But thank God for the library. You know who created the library system?
No idea.
Andrew Carnegie. You ever heard of Andrew Carnegie?
Yeah,
he was the wealthiest man in the world at his time and created United States Steel. That's a whole nother story I could come back and talk about. But Andrew Carnegie then got Napoleon Hill to write Think and Grow Rich.
I think I've heard of that story. It's a similar story to that, yeah.
That's a whole nother story we can talk another time. But back to this point I want to make right now. So somebody said Zig Ziglar. I'm like, well, okay. So I'm going to the library, and I'm there at the library, and I find out they got cassette tapes. And I find out that he's got all kind of cassette tapes. So I'm here, and I get the cassette tapes, and I'm listening. And I go, wow, this guy's a really good speaker. He was a better speaker than he was a writer. So now I'm hooked. And I'm listening every night to Zig Ziglar, and he's talking and teaching me and getting me fired up, getting me motivated. He's my first mentor. My first mentor through books and tapes is Zig Ziglar. So I'm like just blown away by this guy, just incredible.
Yeah.
And then it said at the end of one of the recordings, recorded live in Dallas, Texas. Well, Zig lived in Dallas, Texas, and recorded live in Dallas, Texas. And I thought, well, what if I could go to one of his events and see him in person? That would be incredible.
Yeah.
So you see a series of baby steps from the book to the recording to the event, and the big, stadium type thing, all these people, and he wasn't the only speaker there, but there's a line, he's autographing books, and I brought my book, and he's autographed, and he pumped my hand, smiling and everything, and I learned he had a Christian fellowship at his church. He was speaking, and coming up, I go hear him speak again. So I'm there with my paper and pen right up front, taking notes at the church as he's speaking, and he mentions he has a Christian fellowship at his home. I go from not knowing who this guy is, to the book, to the tapes, to the event, to meeting him, to I'm in his home, a beautiful home like this, and he's got all these chairs set up. There are about 20 people, and we go and he shows us where, and there's at the Polo and Country Club. Polo is the high money, right?
Yeah.
So it's the Polo Country Club, and this is like $1 million house back in like 1980 something. Wow. Yeah, back then. I'd never been in a big, beautiful home like that. Little old me, I grew up starting out in a mobile home, a single wide mobile home.
Wow.
So for me to go from there to be in an environment like this, beautiful big home, that was way out of my comfort zone. Little old me, that's the thing, you got to change your thinking. You got to change your self-concept. You got to change how you feel about yourself. You start feeling worthy and deserving of being associated with people with money, because if you associate with people with money, you'll start having more money. Does that make sense?
Indeed, yeah.
And so what ended up happening is my very first turning point was that somebody like a Zig Ziglar could be accessible to little old me. And it got me thinking. And I kept studying and reading and everything else. And then I learned there were all these other speakers. And then what ended up happening over time, I heard about Tony Robbins. I heard about Jim Rohn. I heard about Brian Tracy. I heard about Tom Hopkins. Virtually everybody you name, I probably studied with them in person over the years.
Wow.
That became my passion. That became my priority. And as I kept studying all this stuff and going to these seminars and constantly investing in myself to grow and get better and reading everything, I literally made a decision. I'm there as a security guard. I took a speed reading class, and I got to where I was reading a book a week. And I've literally read a book every week since the 1980s. 50 books a year. Every year I read 50 books.
Yeah.
Now, it's not like it used to be, because it started out with, and again, even like reading, most people, there's a thing called subvocalization. So what you do is you read every word, and it's a lot slower. Then when you learn to not do subvocalization, now you're reading closer to a line at a time. Then I learned about something called photo reading. Photo reading, the mind is so incredible. You can take a snapshot of the page, and your mind can capture what's there, and you're reading like this. Photo reading. I took that training. So I'm constantly improving myself, constantly learning. And so what ended up happening then, a guy named Mark Victor Hansen, you ever heard of him?
It's familiar.
Mark Victor Hansen wrote the best-selling book, along with Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Oh,
They sold like 500 million copies of that book.
Mm-hmm.
So before it got that big, maybe even before it was published, he came and spoke at a church that had speakers like that. And I'm there, and I'm right up front again, like Zig Ziglar, taking notes and everything. And he said, you should have 100 or more goals. I'm thinking 100 or more goals. How would I come up with 100 more goals? But he was adamant about it. I said, okay, he's the teacher, speaker up here. I'm going to do what he says. So now I had no money. I talk to people all the time just getting started and struggling, and they have no money. Sometimes they've gone 20, 30, 40 years. They're in their 30s or 40s or 50s or even 60s, and they still have no money in America. Can you believe that? They have no money because they never learned how to manage money by managing themselves. So as I'm listening to all this, I go, okay, he's got more money than me. He knows things. So if he says I need to write down 100 goals, I'm going to do that. And the number one thing I tell broke people is, can you afford a piece of paper? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Can you afford a pen or pencil? Yeah. Can you take a piece of paper and a pen or pencil and write down what you want? Most people won't do it. They refuse to do it. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So I learned to be constantly every day writing down what I want. So back last year, I wrote down, I'm now being invited to be a guest on podcast. And I'm writing that down. And then, no surprise, you and one other person at the meeting Thursday talked to me about being a guest on a podcast.
Yes.
So that's one of the things for this year I'm going to do more of, being a podcast, because one of the things I learned from Robert Kiyosaki is the importance of the word leverage and cash flow. I'll get into that in a minute. But figuring this point, so Mark Victor Hansen wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul. I'm a security guard, but I can afford a piece of paper. I can afford a pen. I'm working 11 o'clock at night till 7 o'clock in the morning, so I get busy. And I write down my 100 goals. And on my 100 goals, one was to become vice president of a financial services company. Now, I didn't think president because I thought president was important or the level, because I'm still new. But I felt if I could get to vice president, that would be a fairly high level of success in that organization. So I had no idea how to do that. Never done that before. I did have a college degree in finance, but no experience. So I wrote down, and I've been trying to get into the industry, but I kept seeing people who sold insurance and they were in the industry. I go, no, I don't want to sell insurance. Or they're just a stockbroker. No, I don't want to do that. I want to do actually financial planning and help people with their money. But how do you get in the industry? That was a struggle for years. So I ended up was going to be a security guard for 3 months. I was there for 3 years. But the difference was during those 3 years, I was working on me. I was reading, I was studying, I was working, I was improving, I was going to classes. Somebody said, you need to go to Toastmasters. I go, Toastmasters? Isn't that public speaking? Oh, I don't know if I could do ever, the number one fear is public speaking, more than being attacked by a grizzly bear or a shark. Public speaking.
Okay.
So I said, well, so I'll never forget, they said, you got to go. And of course, Zig Ziglar is a public speaker, and I'm thinking like that. And I'm thinking, I don't think I can do that. So what ends up happening, but I write it down, it took me 2 years to get the courage to go to my first Toastmasters meeting. That's how scared I was. That's how introverted I was. So I finally, my heart's like this. I get the courage. I go to that meeting. I get there just as they close the door. I go, too late to close the door. I can't go in. I left. Oh, wow. That's how bad it was.
Wow. Okay.
It took me another 2 weeks just to get the courage to go to my first Toastmasters meeting. And when I got in, I loved it. I took off. I was every position, including the president. And I was in it for probably 10 years. I till this day, when I have new clients, one of the top things I say, go to Toastmasters. And when they hesitate, I say, I'll go with you. And so the best, number one thing that's helped me in business, in sales, in real estate investing, and raising capital, everything, is the ability to think and speak on your feet and communicate, and especially table topics. There's an area called table topics. And one of the things I like to joke and say, okay, congratulations, Justin. You're our guest today to speak at Table Topics for 2 minutes on the topic of how you just came back. Elon finally figured out how to go to Mars. So you're the first man to go with an all-female crew for the last 9 months. You had 9 women on that cruise with you to Mars and back. You got to hear how you survived with 9 women. And what did your wife say about that? So anyways, then you say, well, thank you, Table Topics Master, and welcome friends and guests. Funny thing happened on the way over here. You spent 2 minutes, eat that up, and say, oh, we're out of time. I'll have to talk about my trip to Mars next time. So you get very creative thinking on your feet like that.
Wow. Wow, that's profound, yeah.
It's profound.
Yeah.
It changed my life. Because people's biggest fear is, well, what happens if I have a business transaction or a phone call or something that's unexpected and somebody asks me a question, I'm not ready. The creativity to adjust, even just stall. Justin, I'm so glad you asked me that question. Let me tell you, see, I'm stalling. My mind's getting a time to come up with the answer as I'm buffer. And there's all these little things I've learned. So what ends up happening is the other security guards, they're probably still there. They were reading the sports section and listening to sports and all. I was working on me. I was developing skills. I learned about sales. I'm like, well, I'm no salesman, but I studied sales. I became the number one salesperson after company because I studied Zig Ziglar with sales. I studied Tony Robbins with sales. I studied Tom Hopkins, one of the top sales trainers. Anybody who taught sales, I studied. Matter of fact, the best one was something called the Sandler Selling System. And I had the opportunity to not only become a client, I went and I became a trainer. And I went when David Sandler was still alive, and I went to Baltimore where they're based out of, and I learned the Sandler Selling System, which is the best system far and above for sales. It's fantastic. Changed my life. There's lots of different things along the way that changed my life. Toastmasters was one. Meeting Zig Ziglar, especially at his home, was one. There's turning points. And what happened as a result of all these turning points, somebody said to me, you need to read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I go, well, you're in network marketing. You're just trying to recruit me to network marketing. And no. And then another network marketer, because that's where he started, was Amway and network marketing and everything, before anybody knew who he was.
Okay.
And it took off, word of mouth there. You got to read this book. And then for 6 months, people were like, here, you got to read this book. And the more you got to do something. No. Fight and resist. Isn't that really silly?
Yeah.
So finally, after 6 months, I broke down. I read the book. I go, oh my God, why didn't somebody tell me to read this book sooner? Isn't that how we are, human beings, right? Crazy. Okay. So I read this book and I go, I bet this guy has seminars. So I immediately started going looking and I go, oh, he's coming to Dallas. So back before he was known, you could go to a seminar for $500 for the weekend.
Wow.
And even though 500 at the time I was still starting, was a little bit, but I went for $500 and I'm there and there's like 100 people in the room. 100 people, $500. He gets on Oprah, his book becomes a bestseller. There's another seminar coming up. Now instead of $500, it's $5,000.
Yeah.
Instead of 100 people, there's 1,000 people in the room. See, that's the power of leverage of becoming visible.
Yes.
The number one thing I tell people all the time, stop hiding. Who knows who you are? Who knows what you do? If you get invited to speak, speak. If you get invited to be on a podcast, be on a podcast. What can you do to have more people know about your existence, right? So good job for you because you're doing this, progress.
Thank
and
you.
We'll talk in a moment before we finish about raising capital and how you and I are both involved with that. That's an important thing too.
Yes.
But the bottom line to finish all this, so here I am, Mark Victor Hansen, 100 goals. As I write down that 100 goals, I'm thinking, okay, one of which I watched, remember National Geographic? I watched National Geographic and I thought one of the coolest things was they had these scientists, these natives, and there's like, I don't know if it's lava or hot fire pit, whatever, but they're walking barefooted across hot coals. I thought, how crazy is that?
Yeah.
And they're not getting burned. And the natives are taking, you grab them by the arm and take the scientists with them. And as long as the native would take the scientists with them, grab their arm, they could go across the fire without burning. Blows my mind. I love stuff that blows my mind. It's fun. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So I said, well, someday I'm going to have to get the money together. What's it going to cost? I don't know, 10,000, 20,000. I'm just making it up. It's going to take me 10, 20 years, and I'm going to go to Fiji or someplace in that part of the world where that happens. And I wanted to go do that. I wrote down, I'm going to do firewalking, and it's going to take 10, 20 years and all this money. Right?
Yeah.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
But that's what, write down all these outrageous goals. I also wrote down that I was driving a BMW 320i because being from Detroit, a foreign car like that was exotic. You must have money. So I wrote down BMW 320. Of course, 320i was more the car back in the 80s and 70s and all that. But I wrote down that car. I was driving a pickup truck at the time. So I wrote down a vice president of financial planning firm. I wrote down I'm speaking in financial planning. I'm writing a column in financial planning. I had all the, I'm going sailing. I'm going ballooning. Even ballooning. Ballooning in my mind is like $100 to go ballooning. That's a lot of money at that time, back in the 80s, especially when you're not making any money. I'll never forget, I get involved with this group, and the guy says, you coming? I go, coming where? He said, we're going ballooning. I go, ballooning? What's it going to cost me? Nothing.
I was like, whoa.
I'm going to go ballooning. It's going to cost me nothing. Yeah, you'll be part of the spotter team that we chase the balloon and follow. Oh, okay, I'm just going to watch. And the next thing we know, the balloon comes down. He says, you getting in? I said, getting in? What's it going to cost me? Nothing. I get in the balloon and I'm up going, and it blows my mind. I wrote it down and it happened. I could spend all day, all weekend giving stories and examples of making a decision, writing it down, and it happening. Now, it also helped that I learned about a thing called an image book or vision board. You ever heard of vision board, image book? So I got a picture of a balloon and I cut out a picture of a balloon and I put it where I could see it. I'll never forget at the time when I went to college, we had this computer that was the size of this whole building. There was a Burroughs computer and Fortran and all that. We had to punch all these punch cards.
Fortran.
Yeah, that's back in the day in the 70s, right?
Okay.
So we had to do all this stuff, and then we make one key punch error and all the gobbledygook, and we had to go through all that and try to figure out where we made our mistake. And we had to wait 24 hours for it to process and get this whole printout and all these punch cards. That was my experience of computers.
Oh, that's...
Yeah. And so with this opportunity, at the church, there's a guy speaking, and I finally got the opportunity to get into financial planning. And he says, I've got an opportunity for you. Again, I attracted it by here. So he said, I need somebody to do data input. Can you do that? I said, well, sure, I think so. You know anything about computers? Right answer is, yeah, some. So I had taken, and the Time magazine Man of the Year was the IBM PC XT computer.
Okay.
So I cut out a picture that was on the cover of Time magazine, and I put it in my little book, and I wrote underneath, I'm now being paid as I learn how to use this computer.
Wow.
Now, could anybody afford that?
At that time?
That's within your budget.
Okay.
Take out a picture, put it down, write down what you want.
Okay, so, yeah. Okay.
See, you're giving your supercomputer instructions. Most people are not giving it instructions. If anything, the instructions they're giving it is, look, I have no money. Look, I have no relationship. Look, I'm fat. I can't, they're giving negative program instructions. They keep reinforcing it. They keep getting the same results. One of the most famous lines that I love, Your results do not lie. People say, oh, I believe this, I believe that, I believe I'm going to be a millionaire. It's like, let's look at your results. Are you a millionaire? No, then you don't believe it. How we'll know what you believe is your results in your life reflect what you believe. Okay. So I wrote down I was going to start spending time in San Diego. Now, 5 years ago, I would have said, California, do you know what the taxes are? You know how expensive it is? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I spent much of last year in San Diego for a fraction of what I thought it would cost. I'm now going to start spending time in Hawaii. I got a new client. I wrote down, I have a new client in Hawaii. I have a new client, just paid me $5,000. I'm going to have to fly to Hawaii. Oh, twist my arm. I have to go to Hawaii every month to help work with that client. But see, you can decide in your mind what you want and write it down and begin to get to work, and it happens over and over and over again. So I wrote down all these things I thought it was going to take 10 and 20 years. And in less than 12 months, Tony Robbins came to Dallas, Texas for the very first time, offering a firewalk for $99. Now, even as a broke security guard, I could scrape together $99. Mm-hmm. And in less than 12 months, 99% of those goals I wrote down, I thought were going to take 10 and 20 years, they all happened. I went from being a vice president of a securities firm, I went from a security guard to being vice president of a securities firm. Mm-hmm. And not only that, I got a business card and a little placard that said vice president. You know why? Instead of giving you a raise, they want to give you a title. I learned about that too. Oh, okay. You're vice president, you're vice president. Give them all vice president instead of a raise. Because this is a startup company, we don't have the money.
Oh, okay.
But that was humorous to me that I wrote that down. I became vice president, but 5 other people are all vice president. Yeah. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
But it happened. I wrote it down and it happened. Then I was writing on financial planning for our newsletter that we had. I was invited to speak at our company, to speak in financial planning. And I was speaking with a CFP, and people had attorney and all kind of high credential people. Then miracle after miracle happened so incredibly fast, I wrote it down. And I didn't just write it down one time. I would review it and review it and review it and impress on my unconscious mind exactly what I wanted, and it started to happen so fast. I got the car, I got the position, I made more money, I got more experience, and everything just took off, including miraculous things. Somebody invited me to go sailing. Somebody invited me to go ballooning. All these things, I had pictures of a sailboat. I'm going sailing. It just happened all so fast.
Right.
And so people hear all the time about having goals. They go, yeah, I got my goals in my head. That's why your life looks like what it does. You don't have clarity.
Okay.
In writing, it changes everything. Then when you add photos, they can add an emotional component. Now, from a Christian standpoint, in the Bible it says, as a man or woman thinketh in your heart, so are you. Why the heart? Because it's emotion. You have to take your goals and you have to fill the thought with the feeling and emotion. See, here's the thing. Most people don't fill it with the emotion or what they want. They do, oh, look at my bank account. See, the negative emotion. Mm-hmm. The negative emotion also will do the same thing. I never have any money. Well, there you go, self-fulfilling prophecy. Self-talk is very important too. One of my favorites is, you familiar with the concept of try, the word try?
Yeah.
So basically, I hear people say the word try all the time. And I say, well, that's why I'm not successful. Let's do a little funny little exercise, okay? Take your finger and point like this, okay? Now, I want you to listen very carefully to the instructions. Okay. Listen very carefully. The instructions are, take your finger and try to touch your nose. Go ahead and try. Go ahead and try. Yeah, you're close, but try, right? See, did you just try? Mm-hmm. Now, if you want to touch your nose, you take your finger and say, now, touch your nose. Is there a difference in the instructions to your supercomputer, touch your nose, compared with try to touch your nose?
Okay.
So you could give it instructions to try and say, see, I tried and it didn't work.
Okay.
Look how close I got, I tried. Every time you use a word like try, you're saying you don't have to succeed. Why say try? Would you try to open the door versus open the door? Your computer is so specific. If I say call me and I'm one digit off, can you call me?
No.
The computer is very specific.
Right.
That's why people don't have what they want.
Okay.
Isn't that crazy how simple that is?
Yes.
And so every little thing, your thoughts, your self-talk, your feeling, it must be in alignment. Here's the other thing. People say, I want more money. Okay, great. You can have more money. So hold out your hand. Say, I want more money.
I want more money.
I give you a penny. There you go. Done.
Yeah.
That's more money.
Right.
See, people make a mistake of saying, I want more money, but they're not specific. So you get a penny. Done.
Yes.
That's how the unconscious works.
Wow, that's
Isn't that profound?
yeah.
Yeah. So I've studied this, and to this day, I study probably close to 4 hours a day. 2 hours in the morning when I wake up, 2 hours before I go to sleep, filling my mind with what I want, thinking about creating, writing down. So I'm going to be going to Hawaii. I'm going to be buying real estate in Hawaii. I'm going to go to Japan. I'm going to buy some real estate in Japan. I'm going to go to the Philippines, buy some real estate in the Philippines. I'm going to go to Italy. Never been to Italy. Going to buy some real estate in Italy. I'm going to eventually have properties. I'm dealing with a new client who's in Texas, in San Antonio. He's actually got a property he's selling in Costa Rica, and he said he'll take me to Costa Rica. And there's fantastic volcanoes there where they got hot springs, which I love.
Wow.
I'm a hot springs fanatic, but he's from Peru. So I'm going to be a polyglot. I mean, all these goals, right? I've always got 100 goals. I got 30-year goals. I'm in my late 60s, and I've got goals past 100. You ever heard of blue zones?
Blue zones.
Blue zones, yes. So there's a book, and there's a guy from National Geographic, and he studied, and he said there's 5 areas on the planet that people live statistically higher longevity over 100 and good at mental health, mental, physical health. People see all the time, they interact with me and they go, well, you're what, about early 50s? No, late 60s. What? My parents are your age and they're not doing as well as you. Well, are they driven like I am? See? Like, I'm semi-retired. Okay. I'm not a workaholic like I once was.
Okay.
I used to work 60, 80, 100 hours a week. Now I work 20, 30 hours a week, part-time. I will never fully retire because I'm going to be always creating. And one of the things I learned studying blue zones, the people who live with longevity, Okinawa, Japan, there's a place in Greece, there's a place in Italy, there's a place in Costa Rica, and interesting, there's a place, Loma Linda, California.
No, it's just done.
Yes, I've been there and I'm meeting people over there. One of the things they found, the commonality is these people had a meaning and purpose to their life beyond retirement. And a lot of that meaning and purpose had a spiritual component. A lot of that meaning and purpose had a community component and had friends. You know, the biggest challenge a lot of people have, all their friends die, especially as you get older. People get lonely. People that don't have a sense of meaning. The kids are gone, their work is gone. So when they don't have the things that were meaningful to them, sometimes people outlive their kids. So have you heard of a thing called Ikigai?
Yeah, it's doing something.
There's a whole Japanese book on it.
Something about eating an elephant.
Well, no, that's a little different. Ikigai, and I wish I could have the correct spelling of it, but anyways, there's a book on it, and just look up Japanese and you just practice. Ikigai has to do with a meaning and purpose.
Okay.
And so basically, and there's different quadrants and all that, but I'm studying that. I plan to go to Japan, plan to study culture, plan to study language, plan to speak Japanese. I'm going to go to Italy, going to speak Italian, going to speak Spanish. My goal is polyglot, 5 languages. But you can see why I got 100 goals.
Yes.
So I plan to still become a pilot. I haven't done skydiving yet. I mean, I've got so many countries to see, so much to do. I'm going to accomplish more in the next 30 years than I have in the last 60 years of my life.
Wow.
Because I think differently.
Yeah.
I think bigger.
Right.
Things that I perceive as impossible, no problem. Some people, hey, you want to speak in front of 1,000 people? No problem. There's not that many years ago I would have said, what? See, that's what happens. People are presented with opportunities. You know the definition of luck?
No.
Luck is when preparation and opportunity meet. There's opportunity that comes along every day. Most people are not prepared to seize the opportunity. Prepare for your opportunity before it comes. There's opportunities in real estate, there's opportunities in business, there's opportunities in sales. Prepare for the opportunity. Most people don't. Most people are wasting their time. Most people, did you know in America, for example, most people value entertainment more highly than they do education? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
You know who are some of the highest paid people in the United States, in the world? Entertainers.
Yeah.
So Tony Robbins, when he evaluated all this, he said, if I'm just a speaker, trainer, educator, my compensation's here. A corporation is going to say, oh, you're just another speaker. So Tony positioned himself to become an entertainer. And that's why he's one of the highest compensated, because he's not just a speaker, he's an entertainer. He put the two together. And he's worth over $100 million now.
Yeah.
But here's another great story. Mark Victor Hansen wrote that book, Chicken Soup for the Soul. One of the things is that he had a mastermind group. Very important, what you learn, who you associate with on a regular basis, mastermind group. You need to develop a mastermind group. And so he said to Tony backstage at Madison Square Gardens, he said, Tony, I've been at this 10 years longer than you, but you're 10 times bigger than me. And I'm curious, I've got a mastermind group. Do you believe in mastermind? Tony's, Tony, the way he is, absolutely, I believe in mastermind. And Mark Pantak says, well, everybody in my mastermind group is a millionaire. He says, there's your problem. Like, what? Tony says, everybody in my mastermind group is worth $100 million or more. Ah, wow. Think about that.
Yeah.
If you want to be worth 100 million, you better start associating with people worth 100 million. And I'll never forget the first time I'm at the Kiyosaki event. It's $500. There's 100 people in the room. And he says some things, and I'm there with my pen and paper, and he says, write down the 5 people or more that you spend most of your time with. Put the name of each person. Then next to that name, put down your best guess what you think their annual income is. Annual, monthly, whatever. So you got the name, you got the income, then put you down what you think the net worth is. Just guess if you have to. So now you got the name, you got the income, you got the net worth. Now put down where you think they're going to be in 5 years. What you think their income is going to be in 5 years. What you think their net worth is going to be in 5 years. And most of the time, it's not much change in 5 years. In 5 years, it's like, guess what? Where they're at is likely where you're going to be in 5 years. Wow. Wow. The 5 people you associate with the most, where they're going is where you're going. Wow. Most people stay broke because the people you're with, they got jobs and they're stuck and they're broke. If the 5 people you associate with most are negative, you're going to be influenced by them to be negative. If they're creating and they're positive, so you got to surround yourself with a higher quality of people. Not that, okay, I can't talk to my mom anymore. No, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
But you need to expand your center of influence, and you need to look at your friends. You need to look at what do you think about? What do you talk about? What's your focus? See, congratulations to you, because you got involved with Bill, and you, as a result of this, and you're going someplace. You're not just where you used to be. You're now going at another level of people. That's so important. All of us need to do that constantly.
Right.
So as he wrote all this, he said, now write down where you want to be. Now write down an example of the person, what kind of income would they need to be making? What kind of net worth would they need to have? And I said, I want to be a millionaire, but I don't know any millionaires. What would a millionaire want to have to do with me?
Yeah.
But I wrote it down anyways. It wasn't long. I had 5 millionaires. I got right now, I got a lot more than 5. I can whip up my book or my phone, and I can call them. One of my clients, Tony Jerry. Tony started in Oklahoma, and he bought real estate and fixed it up 18 years old. Wow. Between age 18 and 22, in just 4 years, he was a millionaire by age 22. Then the oil crash came in the 80s. He lost everything. The whole Texas and Oklahoma region was influenced. He basically went bankrupt, lost everything, started over. But when he started over, he moved to Dallas, Texas, and he had no money. So he bought a used lawnmower. He recruited some guys to go cut grass, and he was the salesman, business owner. So he's in the luxury home talking to the owner, having a Coke or drink or whatever, and his people out there sweating like crazy in the heat, cutting the grass. And the guy says, I'm really impressed with you. You ought to come work with my company. And it wasn't long, he went from having that company mowing lawns with everybody else doing the work till he sold it, and he's now getting an interest in these companies. And business owners who want to just hire him, he says, well, here's the deal. And he started as a salespeople, quickly was sales manager, then he became running the whole company. And he said, well, in order for me to continue, you're going to have to give me a piece of the business or I'm going to move on. And that whole evolved. So somewhere during that time, he said, hey, I was just at the Anna Hotel, this real nice hotel, and I got this opportunity to speak, and I understand, could you help me? I said, yes. So I helped him create the whole course and program and everything. I'll never forget, there was one night, he was all nervous because he'd not done all the full preparation. So he said, I don't think I'm going to go. Cold feet. No, you're going to go. And it was like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. Yeah. We went to where all these hotels that were his ballroom, and I had him imagine being on the stage and the audience standing up applauding everything else. And I had him over mentally rehearsed, and he got on the plane next day, and everything took off. So anyways, Chrysler was hiring 100 trainers. He had a friend, again, network referral, who got him in. And out of the 100 trainers, he went very quickly, moved into the top 10, ended up moving number 1. He created a company. Chrysler paid him $2 million. Lee Iacocca and Chrysler, he had offices in Dallas, Detroit, and Taipei, Taiwan. Offices around the world. And this all happened in a very short period of time. I became his coach, and I've been his personal business coach for over 35 years now. He makes over $2 million a year. You can look up the name Tony, Tony, and Jerry, Jeary. I was the one that, as his coach, first told him, Tony, you need to write a book. He said, make a lot of money in the book? He said, no, you actually don't make money on the book. You often lose money in the book. Well, why would I want to write the book? Because it becomes your business card. So his first book was inspiring the audience. And I said one of the most important parts is the forward, because it's your first book. He said, well, who should I get to write the forward? I said, Zig Ziglar. He said, how am I going to get Zig Ziglar to write the forward of the book? I said, Tony, if anybody has the stuff that happens, it's you. You decide something and it happens. So he's flying from Dallas to Detroit. He's got the manuscript in his briefcase with him. And who's on the plane but Zig Ziglar and the president of his company? And he gets talking with them, and they happen to be going to Chrysler.
Okay.
And he knows the corporate culture, who he spends the whole time coaching Zig and the president of who to be aware of, how to present, what their values are, what's important. And he just pours into giving value, how to sell Chrysler. And Zig and his president are blown away by this young man. It's like, oh, Tony, this has been incredible. What can we do for you? They said, well, I happen to have this manuscript in my book if you consider writing the forward.
Wow.
And so Zig Ziglar wrote the forward for Tony's book. And then Tony, as a result of that relationship, created a video program that was on Zig Ziglar and how he spoke, and breaking down all the different things of how he did everything he did to be a master speaker. And there's a whole video course created. And then that evolved into Tony having a program through Nightingale Conant cassette tapes, and also being a featured person in Success Magazine, and just on and on and on. But Tony said, I made him millions of dollars being his personal coach all these years. And one of the things he loves is, time is money, speed. He can just contact me. I know him so well. He knows me so well that I can give so much value in such a short period of time because of that long-term relationship.
Wow. That's amazing.
More wow, profound, right?
Yeah.
You probably get more than you even thought you were going to get today.
Yeah.
All kind of nuggets. That's what Tony loves, the nuggets. Mark, you're so good. You can see things that other people don't see. And you know me so well. And you can just go boom, 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 and provide so much value in like 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So Tony's got a Success Acceleration Studio. I don't know what it cost him, $2 million, $4 million. So top executives from corporations get on their private jets and fly the entire team to Dallas to work with him and his team there in Dallas. Because one of the things Tony decided in his mind, I'm going to have a luxury penthouse with a spectacular view of this lake, right where I can literally walk out and walk to my office, and it's spectacular. Everything's incredible. And then I want clients to come to me instead of me go to them.
Right. So he hosts everything.
Yeah. And so that's when I first started coaching back in the 80s. I had, been this vice president of a financial planning firm in the early 80s, and then things sort of fell apart. And so eventually I said, you know what? I don't want a job. I want my own business. So I came up with being a success coach. And it's like, at that time, I would go speak to a group, and they say, now, what kind of sports do you coach again? I go, no, it's sort of like sports, but the difference is, how, and they say, adjust here, or you're lifting weights, and they say, no, not like that, like this. Feedback, valuable feedback with people with expertise can help you accomplish more in less time. So I started being a business coach and sales coach back in the 80s, and I wrote down, okay, what do I believe? That's a good starting place, right? So I said, I believe women are more open-minded than men. And women often are more talkers, networking with the others. So I said, I believe who's most motivated? A woman who's had a divorce, who's in her 30s and 40s, who's got one or more children, and Mama Bear will do for baby Bear more than she'll do for herself. And especially if she's got a business and it's sales oriented, I could help her change her thinking and dramatically increase her income. And so I said 12 was a good number for Jesus, 12 was a good number for me. So I got 12 coaching clients. I'd never done this before. I didn't even have a business card. Didn't even have anything. I just would meet with somebody. We'd have a conversation. I'd say, great. And they say, well, this sounds very good. I'm interested. How much is it? $1,000. $1,000 for 90 days when I first started. Oh, I got this business. I'm struggling. I don't have $1,000. No problem. What do you have? Well, I could do 200. Could you stretch a little bit? And I have people on a payment plan that would do 200, 250, 300, and they pay that just to get the money, get them started. In the very first week, I sold 2 out of 3, or 2 out of 5, 2 out of 5. I said, in my mind, I wrote it down. I'm going to have 5 appointments, 1 a day, and out of the 5 appointments, 2 out of 3. Then those clients are going to refer me other clients. And then I go from 2 out of 3 to 3 out of 3.
Yeah.
And when they say, oh, it's coming up on February, I say, yeah, this month is 1,000. If you start now with a payment plan, I can get you in for 1,000. February 1st, it's 1,500. Oh, well, okay then. And so then my closing rate went from 2 out of 3 to 3 out of 3. But the very first, when I sold at $1,000, that's 2,000 in sales, right? Within the next 30 days, it was now 1,500, and 3 out of 3 is 4,500. My sales went from 2,000 a week to 4,500 a week in 30 days, applying these principles.
Wow.
Then my price went to 2,000. And I said to myself, writing down, what would have to happen for me to have a 100% closing rate? Is it possible to have a 100% closing rate?
Yeah.
Yeah? What would have to happen to have a 100% closing rate? You'd have to have an ideal prospect who met all your criteria, that could see your value, that had the money, that was referred to you and recommended to you, and they called you based upon a strong center of influence referral. How powerful is that?
Yeah.
So in my mind and on paper, I created, did you know everything's created twice? You ever heard that before?
No.
Okay. So if I reach in my pocket and I pull out this iPhone,
yes.
This iPhone, in order for this iPhone to be here, this is the second creation. The first creation, in order for this to be there, it had to be created in my mind. I had to think about having this phone in order to have this phone. Isn't that powerful?
Yeah.
If you start realizing everything you see here was first an idea in somebody's mind, and it had to get in your mind for you to think, oh, that clock on the wall. I'm going to have that clock in your mind, and then it's the second creation. First creation in your imagination, second creation, physical reality.
Yeah.
Now, when you understand that powerful principle, you can have anything you want. Let me repeat that again.
Okay.
Everything in the universe is created twice. First, in your thoughts and imagination. Could you imagine just about anything? Do you have a good imagination?
I tend to.
Let me demonstrate something right now real quick, okay? So you want to play along? Use your imagination?
Yeah, sure.
So you could imagine an orange grove, like in Southern California, or beautiful orange grove with all these trees and the green and the orange, and you could smell it. And actually, physically, you're next to a tree and reach out with your hand, physically reach out with your hand and grab a nice ripe orange and pluck it and pull it up to your nose. Physically pull it up to your, smell that orange. Oh, it smells so good, doesn't it? Now imagine you're taking and cutting it in half with a knife. Physically do it like you're cutting it in half and see the juice dripping out as you cut it in half, and you bring that now, oh, it's cut in half, smell that. Now sink your teeth in and swirl that juice around your mouth, and that lemon juice, as you swirl that lemon juice around your mouth, swirl it. What happens when you swirl that juice? What happens in your mouth?
You salivate.
Wait a minute, you salivate?
Yeah.
Why were you salivating?
Because you're imagining it.
But there wasn't anything physically there.
Okay.
So let me get this straight. So you're telling me that your physical body just had a physical reaction to something that wasn't there that you vividly imagined. Guess what? Your entire nervous system will respond to money. Your entire nervous system will respond to raising capital. Your entire nervous system, if you vividly imagine something as being real, your unconscious mind can't tell the difference between the real thing and the imagined thing, as just demonstrated right now. How profound and powerful is that?
Profound.
When you start thinking about what you want and you vividly imagine already having it, pray believing you have already received and you shall have it. Isn't that amazing? So I apply these principles starting in the 80s. And I learned on this cassette tape I had from Tony Robbins, the 30-day personal power. He called himself a success coach. So back when there were no coaches, I started calling myself a coach, and I built a business, and I literally, within 90 days, went from 2 out of 5 to 3 out of 5. I had people calling me and saying, hey, Mark, my friend referred me to you and said I need to work with you. You're getting all kind of fantastic results for him. Can I meet with you? I said, yes. Did he tell you how much it is? He said, yes, $2,000. So bring your checkbook or bring your money so you're prepared to make a decision to get started.
Okay.
And they did. And they would drive to, I had a nice home. They would come to me, and I had a week, I closed 5 out of 5. I went from 2,000 a week to 4,500 a week to 10,000 sales in 1 week.
Wow.
And then I was teaching others how to do the same thing with their business, with their sales, with their salespeople. And then I made over 100,000 and realized come January 1, I sort of almost had to start all over again. And I got thinking, I need to get back into real estate. So I got back into real estate and I learned how to focus on acquiring an asset that throws off a cash flow so my money works so I don't have to. And now I teach teach other people how to do what I do. I've done over 300 deals without having a job, without using my money, without using credit, without going to the bank, because I understand I become a master in creative finance.
Right.
We buy houses, we buy real estate notes for passive income, cash flow. We buy mobile homes. Matter of fact, we got a mobile home deal we're about to close in California, my first California deal this coming week.
Nice.
And again, through relationships and networking.
Yeah.
And it's worth about $300,000. We're getting it for $185.
Okay.
So any case, and we just closed a 100-unit apartment complex. I went from a 2-unit to a 4-unit to an 8-unit to 12-unit to 20-unit. Then I did syndication where you pool money and you have all these attorney laws and stuff. And we closed my first involvement 100-unit apartment complex last year. So I'm constantly writing down my goals, constantly thinking about what I want, constantly going to the next level.
Yeah.
So what's been one of your most valuable takeaways from all this today so far?
A pen and a pencil.
Yes.
I mean, a pen and a pencil, pen or pencil and a paper, and write it down.
Speaking of this, somebody's watching this right now. You might want to take down my number. My number is 832-766-6997. I'll say it again a little bit more slowly.
Okay.
832-766-6997. Also, I'm very easy to find on the internet. If you just look for Mark, M-A-R-K, Pantak, P-A-N-T-A-K, and there's all kind of videos of me being recorded, but I'm easy to find. I've got a lot of meetup groups out there. I'm speaking different places, but I'm looking for people who want my help and expertise. So pick up that phone, text me, call me.
Yeah.
We can talk. Doesn't cost anything to talk to me.
Right, exactly.
And I helped a lot of people. One last story. I don't know how much more time we got.
Plenty.
Okay, plenty of time. So the young man, he's a young black guy in Beaumont, Port Arthur, Texas, Southeast Texas. And I'd written down, I looked at the map, I looked where Houston was. I said, I want to get a client over there because I want to work that market because Houston's going to get expensive and you'll still be able to cash flow there. It's only 90 minutes away on the border with Louisiana. Okay. So I wrote this down in advance. One day, this young black man comes up to me and says, hey, Mark, I understand you're the guy that teaches wholesaling here in Houston at the Realty Investment Club of Houston. We call it the Rich Club. And this is like 15 plus years ago. Okay. So I said, sure. He said, well, I need to let you know I'm in Beaumont, Port Arthur. Would you consider going that far away? I said, matter of fact, here's what I wrote down. Really? So he had no experience. Matter of fact, he and his family grew up in the projects. His mom said, you're going to be a college graduate. He graduated college, became a chemist. And what ended up happening is he went through school, and now he got to where he was 31. He had an uncle who said, you need to find a local real estate investment club to get involved with real estate. So he did, and the group had disbanded. So he looked around, he saw there was one in Houston. So he drove, burning desire, he drove to Houston, and he ends up finding out the club. He asked around and said, talk to Mark, I'm going to learn to get started with wholesaling. So he did, and what ends up happening is I said, everything is here, mindset and marketing, okay? Master that. So he did, and anyways, one of the very first deals we did, there was a vacant house. It had a tarp. See, write this down. Problems are opportunities. I say all the time, problems are opportunities. Okay. So a hurricane come through, and the branch had broken on the tree, had gone like a spear through the roof. When it gone, the water came in, it got mold in the house. They got an insurance claim. The whole house got paid off, plus they got the money to fix it. But the people didn't want to deal with it. They moved away 2 hours away, and the house has been sitting there vacant for 2 years with the mold still there. Wow. And so he's now doing what I tell him to do. Nice brick house, 3-bedroom, 1 bath, but it's got an additional garage apartment in the back, an additional 2-car garage in the back, and high grass overgrown and blue tarp. It's easy to spot, right? Yeah. And it's in the best school district where everybody wants to be. So he just goes over there and he goes, knocks on the door of all the neighbors. The neighbor says, yeah, I wish somebody would do it. This is a nice neighborhood. That's the only eyesore on the street. Yeah. Here's the lady's number. Wow. So here's the crazy thing. The biggest deterrent is self-sabotage in the form of procrastination. If you don't train your brain to think all the time, do it now, do it now, do it now, be decisive and do it now. So like when I say, call me, text me, do it now.
No, yeah.
Do it now.
Yeah.
And so because people say, I'll do it later. No, that's why you're not wealthy. That's why you don't have the results you want, because you procrastinate and you hesitate and you avoid and you don't do it now. If you have a thought of something that's going to help you be successful, reading a book, taking a class, meeting somebody. See, when I first heard about Zig Ziglar and all these people, I can't talk to them. That's the mistake you're making. People need to talk to you. People need to talk to me. They're watching this. They need to reach out. They need to get to know us. That's why we're doing this, right?
Yes.
People need to realize this. Instead of being over there going, well, who am I? No. I might have a class or a meeting or whatever. We got all kind of opportunities like Zig Ziglar. I didn't start out. I just started out with buying Zig's book. Well, I didn't even buy it. I got it for free at the library.
Yeah.
I didn't have the money to buy it.
Yeah.
So, but I read Zig's books. I got his cassette tapes. All of that I got for free at the library. But then the result, I paid for the event I went to. But the church, when I heard him speak, and the home, all that was free. So what people don't realize is thinking, oh, this person I'm watching on the internet, and they got all this money and all this success, and I can't, blah, 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 blah. See, that right there is what's between you and success. You have to immediately, when you see somebody, seek them out. Get to know them. Go to their event. Get their book. Get their material. Get their whatever. I do, like next week, every Wednesday night, I have a free nationwide Zoom that I do, helping people online. Free. Mm-hmm. Because I'm building relationships. Everything's about building relationships.
Right.
So basically.
How can they get to that free Zoom?
Yes. So number one, like I said, call me, text me. I prefer text because most of the time you call me, you're going to get my voicemail.
Okay.
But text me, 832-766-6997. You can look up on the internet, Mark Pantak. You can go to YouTube, you'll find videos. But anytime I get an opportunity to speak, I'm speaking.
Okay.
And people said to me, what do you charge? And I said, what do you got? There's a lot of groups that are looking for free speakers. Matter of fact, it's funny, Zig Ziglar said when he first started, he spoke like 1,000 times for free before he ever got paid. And then Tony Robbins, having learned about that, he said, well, speaking once a day is good. I'll speak 3 times a day. And he went from living in his car at 17 years old to learning about Jim Rohn, who changed his life. And he was speaking for Jim Rohn by age 19. He was making $10,000 a month at age 19. Wow. And then went on from the learning and relationship with his Jim to become the Tony Robbins he is today. Mm-hmm. So again, see, you have to make a decision in your mind to associate with people who are where you want to be. I'll never forget, I had early on a guy, and again, I'm a security guard. I'm going to the monthly meetings. As I go to the monthly meetings, I have no money, but I'm putting in my credit card and trying to pay it down. The course for $1,000, I get rich quick, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, you want to make $10,000 a month in apartment investing? Great, buy my course for $997. Well, you know, I buy it. I didn't have it, but I bought it. And then I get the course, I'm stunned and go, wait a minute, a basic apartment could be $1 million, and they want $250,000 down. I don't quite understand. And you got to qualify for a loan for $750. When they're in front of the room speaking, they often lease out some of the details. Until you buy the course, then you go, wait, but not to worry. Next month there's another speaker. Yeah. And he says, well, if those apartments are scary and too much, I got this thing called wobbly boxes. What's a wobbly box? A mobile home. And you can find a really cheap in the rundown, scary part of town, a mobile home you could buy for $1,000. I go, well, geez, I could come up with $1,000. I just spent $1,000 on that course. Yeah. I could get $1,000. I could buy a mobile home. I'll never forget. I went to the scary part of town, and as I went there, one of the things that happened is, I'm looking around and I see a guy just like in the movies. He's got the scruffy beard. He's got the ponytail. He's got the white T-shirt with like the hole and the stain. And it's like the whole. He looks like a gang member, a biker gang member. He's got the chain on his wallet. Mm-hmm. He's got the belly. He's like looking, he got a gold tooth and a tooth missing or something. He's like really rough. And I'm like, my heart's going boom, 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 boom. But I get the courage and I say, excuse me, sir, have you been here long in this mobile home park? Mm-hmm. I just got a pen. Like his anger, rage. Like, pen? You mean like penitentiary, like prison? Like, well, can I ask what were you, he's going to kill me anyways. What were you in for? Yeah. He said, armed robbery. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm robbery. It's like I'm going to die. I don't know if I can have a tenant over here to be too scary. But not to worry. Next month, there's another speaker. Every month, there's another speaker and the latest, greatest thing. And this guy said, how many of you are scared of people? A lot of hands. How many of you avoid calling? How many of you are like got all these fears and all these issues? Well, wouldn't it be easier if you could just buy and sell paper? And he held up a piece of paper. See this? This paper can be money. It's called a debt. Did you know like banks create this debt and then they buy and sell that debt, and there's people that originate that debt called seller financing. And you could find somebody who's receiving monthly payments from a seller that they sold a house to, and you could buy that at a discount because of the time value of money. You got to get a financial calculator. You got to know what to bid for. But I get all the secrets revealed in this course for only $997. Yeah. It's like guaranteed to work. Or your money back if you read the fine print. If you can jump through hoops, double backflip. Okay. Yeah. Wow. even though I've already maxed out my credit card on the other last 3 courses, this is going to be the one. This is going to be the magic, the miracle. I got to have that course. So I buy that course and I get that course and I'm studying that course. And I say, I'm really going to apply this course this time. And I'm reading line by line. And I go, okay, look it here. Remember the newspaper? In the newspaper, here's an ad just like he said. I'm going to call and I ring. Excuse me, sir. I see your ad in the newspaper here that you're willing to sell or finance this property. And I'm just curious, would you happen to have any other real estate notes that you've created that you're receiving a monthly payment on that you'd rather receive cash? And the guy laughed and chuckled and said, kid, did you just buy that course from that guy that came through town? You're the 3rd guy that's using the same script on me. Oh my gosh, the prospect knows the sales script better than I do. I thought, will this ever work? It was so frustrating because I'd buy a course and try it, buy a course. I could never seem to make anything work. And then one day I'm there as a security guard, 11 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock in the morning, reading my book, and it says, find somebody who's actually done what you want to do and ask them to breakfast or lunch and ask them how they did it and then do what they did. It took me 2 or 3 years to get into that point. I mean, finally, wow, that's a good idea, but who could I ask? And I thought, there's John, who's the head of the local real estate investment club. He's the leader, he's the president, and everything. And he went from working at Foley's department store, sort of like J.C. Penney's and all those. And he was, manager. He worked retail, a lot of hours, low pay. But I don't know, guessing back in the 80s, he maybe made $60,000. And he now is full-time in real estate. Now he bought in the hood in Dallas, the low-end stuff. He was probably buying houses $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. So they're free and clear quickly and get all that cash flow. And he knew how to deal with those tenants, Section 8 low-end stuff. But I thought, okay, and again, my heart's still going like this. And I say, excuse me, John. He says, yeah, I know you. You've been coming here for like, 2 years or something like that. He said, sure. And he said, come on, there's Mama's Cafe, little hole in the wall, go. So I meet him 8 o'clock in the morning at this little hole in the wall place that he likes. And I'm there. He looks over at me. He says, where's your paper? I go, paper? Yeah, you did bring pen and paper to take notes, didn't you? Deer in the headlights. Well, did you bring questions? I was that bad. As I say, if I can do this business, you've got no excuse. Anybody can do this business. It's crazy. So he laughs and he tears off a piece of paper. He puts the piece of paper and pen over, hands it to me. He says, okay, let's start out with this. What do you specialize in? Specialize in? Yeah, like apartments, mobile homes, real estate paper. What area do you specialize in? I had to think about it for a while. I go, I guess I specialize in buying courses and being a seminar junkie. Honestly,
Yeah.
Okay. So, let's start with this. How many properties have you made offers on? Offers? Well, how many sellers or realtors or anybody you've talked to in the last 90 days? He says, do you understand you're a spectator calling yourself a football player and you're not even on the field? You're in the stands watching other people live the life and make the touchdown. You got to get on the field. You got to take the risk.
Yeah.
You got to do it. Okay, so what should I focus on? He laughed. He said, write this down. SFH. So I wrote big SFH. And I go, what's that? He laughed some more. He said, single family home. I said, okay, I'll play along. Where would I find one of those? You got a sense of humor, I'll get a sense of humor, play along.
Yeah.
He said, well, let's do this. Let's look at the map. Where do you live? I live over here in the suburbs. Do you live in a house? Well, yeah, I do. And are there houses in that neighborhood? Well, matter of fact, there are. Are there houses between where you live and where you work? I probably are. And how do you get to work? I take the freeway. He said, that's your first mistake. I said, taking the freeway is my first mistake. I don't understand. You need to now drive from where you live to where you work, driving through neighborhoods. I said, but then I'll be late for work. I was really this bad.
Okay.
He rolled his eyes. He says, you're going to have to get up early. I'm like, get up early? You think I was asking me to be an axe murderer or something? Yeah, 30 minutes early. You have to pay a price and make a sacrifice to have success. You got to get up early and drive through the neighborhoods. And then it's like for every solution, I had a problem, right? But it's dark. It's wintertime. I'm driving. I can't see anything. He said, no, it's the best time. What? Yes, in the morning, you're on your way to work. Most people have jobs. Guess what? As you're driving slowly through those neighborhoods, you can spot which houses have cars and which houses don't. Which houses have lights on where people are getting ready for work and which houses don't. And as you're driving, here's a nice house in a nice neighborhood, and there's no car, there's no lights, it's a vacant house. But driving by the yards maintained, you would have never known it was a vacant house. Being a vacant house, maybe somebody has a problem they need to sell. Wow. I made money from that one idea. A
Wow.
lot of money from that one idea.
Was that your first deal?
Well, that's part of how I found, I'll tell you my first deal in a second.
Okay.
But anyways, that was life-changing. Again, the power of association, the power of getting the right centers of influence who could give you suggestions of what to do, what to implement that change your life. So I'll never forget from that time, it took me, I've been going for 2 years. 4 months, I did my first deal, 4 months later. And one of the things I also learned was the importance of going to meetings. So I made a priority. I went to every meeting I could. And as I did, I would say, and again, most people, they're afraid to say anything. But I got involved with Toastmasters. I've been doing this. I've been between the reading books and Zig Ziglar and going to Toastmasters and all these different things, my confidence was growing. My willingness to take a risk and have courage was growing. My willing to reach out to people and try new things and get out of my comfort zone was growing. So I would start going to meetings and I'd say, can I say something? And I'd go see the leader. I'd say, I got something to share. And I'd push out of my comfort zone to every time I'd say, hi, everyone. My name's Mark. I'm new. I'm hungry. I'm looking to do my first deal. Someone here has got a lead that you're doing nothing with. Maybe you don't have the money. Maybe you don't know what to do. Maybe you don't know the contract. Maybe it's just not a deal. It's too far away. Whatever it is, you're throwing away a lead. Instead of throwing it away, throw it my way. If I make any money with it, I'll pay you.
Yeah.
Simple enough, isn't it?
Yeah.
How much does that cost me?
Zero.
Cost me courage.
Yeah. Okay.
But I learned that. And so I started doing that. And then there was a group in Houston that was even bigger than Dallas. So I started going for that meeting. And I'd go at those meetings and speak up. And this little white lady came up to me and said, I've got one that is in the low income area that I'm scared to go. Great, I'll take it. So I get the phone number, get the information. Didn't cost me. I got a lead. I called a lady, older black lady, and she's got this house. I remember I went there, and again, it's 4 hours between Dallas and Houston. So I'm there, and I'm looking, and I get there a half hour early, and I'm driving around, and I'm calling every sign I can find, and I get a feeling that houses are about $75,000. And when I pull up at this house that she's got, and I look, and I go, it needs a roof. It needs siding. It needs windows. And this is just the outside. It needs everything.
Yeah.
I go inside. It needs flooring. It needs sheetrock. It needs painting. It needs the kitchen. It needs bathroom. There's a roof leak. It needs electrical. I mean, I'm thinking, I'm brand new. It needs $60,000 worth of work and it's worth $75,000. I'm going to offer $5,000. I don't think I can do that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is my first one. I'm scared, but I'm like studying like crazy. And I said, so nice to meet you. I'll check with my business associate, which I don't have. My business associates, I'll get back to you and we'll let you know.
Yeah.
Well, now what? So I get out and I'm looking around. And I see in the distance on the telephone pole a yellow Coroplast sign that says, we buy houses, right in that same neighborhood. So I know, I get over there. I call on the phone, say, ring, ring. Hi, sir. Do you buy houses in this neighborhood? He started chuckling. He said, listen, son, it'd be helpful if I knew where you were. My psychic abilities are not that great. It was that bad. Okay. If I could do this business, anybody could do this business. I was so clueless.
Yeah.
I said, oh, well, such and such a neighborhood. He chuckled again and said, well, where'd you get my number? I said, this yellow sign up on the telephone pole. He laughed again and said, well, who do you think put that sign up there? I did, so I could buy houses in that neighborhood. Well, heck yeah, I want to buy that neighborhood. Okay. And so I gave him the address. It turns out that he was on the board of directors for the local real estate investment club. So even though I was brand new, I felt I could trust him. So I gave him all the information and said, if I could make a bird dog fee. He said, yeah, sure, if I buy it, only if I buy it. I said, great. So then I was so stupid, I didn't keep his name, I didn't keep his number, I didn't follow up, I didn't do all the basics. I see people this day in their 30s and 40s and 50s that are as bad as I was in my 20s. No common sense, no clue to capture the information and follow up, right? The fortune's in the follow-up. We've all heard that before. So what ends up happening, I go to the real estate club because he and I discussed, we're both a member of the real estate club. So I show up and I said, well, I bet he's here. And I asked somebody, because I was driving in from Dallas to 4 hours to Houston. And I asked around, somebody said, yeah, that's him right over there. I walk up, introduce myself. He said, oh, you're the kid that brought me that house. I bought it and everything. I got something for you. So he whips out, writes a check for $500, hands it to me. I'm like, going, now keep in mind, I'm a security guard. I'm making minimum wage.
Yeah.
$500? I had 3.5 hours involved in that deal. I paid the little old lady $150. I kept $350. I'm thinking, I made $100 an hour the first time in my life. As a bird dog, not knowing the contract, not knowing ARV, not knowing repairs.
Yeah.
I don't know nothing other than burning desire, go do it. And I did.
Yeah.
And I took that 350, and there's a national guru that was speaking. They had a whole weekend type thing, all day Thursday, all day Friday, all day Saturday, sellathon, every 90 minutes, a different speaker. And so this speaker's talking about eBay's the future. This speaker's saying Amazon's the future. This speaker's saying internet marketing's the future, and social media, and all this. And this is like before, this is 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like when it's new. They weren't even YouTube and Google and all that kind of stuff. And so every 90 minutes of me selling something, I'm just there. I got my 350. I'm clutching on, hanging on, because this one guy I want to hear. He's a real estate guy. So Saturday morning, and sure enough, he's there. And he's got the screen up, and he says, "See this ugly house? Many of you have driven by an ugly house just like that today, and you said to yourself, driving by, somebody should do something with that house. Well, see, I got a new student, someone just like you, sitting here in the front row. Here's their photo. They did something. They found the owner, they contacted the owner, got under contract. They didn't have any money, didn't have any experience, didn't want to rehab, but they got under contract and they sold it. And here's their check for $5,000. And here's a young lady like you. See, and she did this. And he spent the whole time showing a house, showing a person, someone just like you. And then they took my training and learned what to do, and they got this check. Would you like a check? Would you want a check? So it just showed houses and people and checks. And he said, now, normally it's $5,000 for my program, but today only, it's the low price of $39.97. Well, we've been beat on for 3 days now. Actually, 2 days. This is the third day. And everybody put their credit card. They bought stuff already. Everybody's maxed out. There's 100 people in the room, and everybody's just sitting there looking at each other. Nobody's doing anything. He's going, He said, okay, I got to do something here. They said, well, I got good news for you. If there's a hesitation or problem here, see this course, this red course? This is all my secrets in one course for wholesaling. It's normally $9.97. But great, guess what? You're going to learn creative finance. This is my creative finance class. I got my red course, my blue course, my green course. Each course is normally $9.97, but you're in luck. Today only, the low price of $9.97, you can get all three if you drink the Kool-Aid and run like a zombie to the back of the room and put it on your credit card because you're broke. I'm going, oh, wow, I need that information. And $9.97, I'm so close. And I've been reading this book, Think and Grow Rich. It talks about burning desire. There's 100 people here, and I'm like going, I'm going to find 2 people. And I approached like 12 people, and I found 2. I said, yeah, I don't have a lot of money, but I'll do it. A third. So you're doing a third, and you're doing a third.
Yeah.
And so the 3 of us, we're all going in. We're each going to get one and then rotate among the different courses. See, most people just sit there and say, I don't have $1,000 and leave. That's how it used to be. Mindset. It all starts with how you think. Mindset. Do you want it bad enough? You're going to find a way. You're going to find a solution. You're going to find a problem. So I found 2 other people. I went up to him with a check for $1,000. And I said, now, sir, I need to move some money, so don't cash this too quick.
Yeah.
Give it a day or 2 so I can move the money over. He said, fine. And then you want to take my course in Tampa coming up the end of the month? Well, I'd like to, but it's $3,000, $4,000. And I've never made that much money an entire month at that point.
Yeah.
And he said, well, no problem. I'll sign you. No, slow down. I don't have the money. As I'm scraping to get the money just for this. Okay, 90 days. The next one in 90 days. Like, no, slow down. 6 months. I said, can I wait a year? He said, no, a year's too long. I'll go 6 months. Can you put that in writing? So I had him put it in writing that he would give me credit for this $1,000 for his $4,000 program for 6 months. That if I can get the money, the rest of the money, because I got a $1,000 credit and I'm getting the discount off the $5,000, so it's $4,000 basically with $1,000. So I need to come up with $3,000 more in 6 months. I'm going to find a way. So I got the money from each of them, replenished. So I turned $350 from a bird dog fee into $1,000 worth of education training. That's a good first step, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then we exchanged these different courses. But I took that red course, the wholesaling course, and I went like crazy. I already done some marketing, and somebody called me, and I got the lead. It was a nice house, and so I got 2 buyers in there. Matter of fact, it was a preacher that when you went to go to the house, he was trying to steal his house from this little old lady who inherited it. And at the door, there'd be like some badge or something to intimidate, make you run away. And I said to the lady, I need your permission to get in there. Is he preaching on Wednesday night? Yes, he is. So nobody's home. Right. Can I have your permission to break into the house? So I got her written permission to break in the house. And like where the kitchen was or something, I broke the glass. I opened the window, crawled in, opened the front door, and let my buyers into the house while the guy was gone preaching.
Wow, that's smart.
Right.
Yeah.
And so one of them offered me, paid me $3,000 wholesale assignment fee for that house. As fast as I got $3,000, I sent it to the guru, teacher, mentor. so I could go to his program. I scraped barely the money together on Southwest Airlines to fly to Tampa from Texas. And I had no money for a hotel. I mean, I was like,
Yeah.
And so fortunately, Enterprise Rent-A-Car had their special. They were promoting growing, $9.99 weekend special, $9.99 a day. So at the airport, I got the car, and then I went to the airport. I went to the hotel, and I slept in the car. Fortunately, it was Tampa. It was in the fall. It was not too cold, not too hot. I could sleep. And then in the morning, I'd go down to the beach. There's a pool chain with the cold water and take my shower. But I wanted it bad, burning desire. And so I did that training. I came out of the 3 days excited, fired up, on fire. I did my first bird dog deal. I did my first wholesale deal. I came out of that course. I made $5,000 on my next deal. And guess what? As fast as I got that money, it all went to the next program for the teacher. The good thing, his course he had that was a weekend, 3 days, he did it every month, different cities all over. And when I looked at the schedule, I go, well, he's doing it in Tampa, but it's coming up in a couple months. He's going to be in Dallas. It's going to be in Dallas. It's going to be in Houston. So I could repeat for free. I'm a little slow. So I took it Tampa, Dallas, Houston, Atlanta, and Detroit. I stayed at my mom's. I did it in Detroit. I took it that first year 5 times. Every time I took it, I learned something more because I physically applying it, and it just took off. That first year, I did 7 deals and made about $39,000. Wow. Now, keep in mind, that was gross, and guess how much of that money I got to keep?
Probably like 40%?
0.
Oh.
You know why?
You reinvest it?
If I keep it, I got to pay taxes on it, right?
Yeah.
But if I spend it, my business spends that money for education. If it's the right education, it's tax deductible, right? So here's the crazy thing. If you read not Think and Grow Rich, but Rich Dad Poor Dad by Kiyosaki, right? Yeah. In there, he talks about there's 2 ways of making money. You got over here, you're the W-9, or W-2, making money. And what's the first thing? You make $100,000. What's the first thing that happens on that money?
Taxed.
The government takes the taxes right off the top. Over here, you got a business. What's the first thing that happens with money?
Reinvest into the business.
You pay your expenses.
Okay.
So on a business, you pay taxes on the profit. You don't pay on the gross, you pay on the net. On your income, that is your money that you now pay the taxes on right off the top.
Right.
So that's why having a business and running everything through your business is so much better.
Right.
So now I'm a lousy businessman. You're making $100,000, but how much you pay in taxes, especially like if you're in California? 10% tax in California. If you're in a high enough tax bracket, you could be with Social Security tax 15%. You could literally pay 70% of your money off the top to taxes, the government, right? Your partner. Over here, I'm a lousy businessman. You make $100,000, I make $100,000. First thing I do, I got to go to Las Vegas. That's a cost. I got to eat. That's a cost. I got to have a place to stay. That's a cost. Every single expense is a business expense because I'm a business traveler, right? I got a new client in Hawaii. I got to go to Hawaii. That's an expense.
Yes.
I got to stay at a nice resort overlooking the ocean. That's an expense. Everything's an expense, right? I'm traveling around. People say, why do you travel all the time? Well, it's easy to write it off.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I got clients in different places. So what ends up happening is, man, here you made all this money and you paid all the taxes. You got $30,000 left to live on. I squandered this money on all these business trips like politicians and everything else. By the time I'm done, I got $24,000 left taxable income, and it's offset by some of my other real estate. I paid $1,000 in taxes, maybe.
Yeah.
On $100,000.
Yeah.
Because 80% of it went for expenses.
Right.
To pay for my enjoying my life.
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
It's amazing.
Dumb like a fox, right?
Yeah.
So people say, you should travel a lot. How do you afford to do it? It's tough. But I'm having fun. My idea of fun is traveling and meeting people and doing deals and all this.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So back to all this story. So there's a video. If somebody contacts me, I'll send you.
Yeah.
It's a 6-minute video of a girl at 14 years old who bought her first house. 14.
Wow. So
I had a class 20 years ago in Dallas. And in this class, there were like 30, 40 people through the local real estate investment club. And we met every Wednesday night. And then we'd go implement and everything. But it's a group class and very affordable. The money is mostly going through the real estate club. So this one man approaches me, says, I'd like to have my son attend it. I said, how old is your son? He said, 14. I go, 14-year-olds tend to have a short attention span and get restless and can be disruptive to class. No, my son's different. You'll see. He goes to the gifted program school, whatever. I said, okay, I'll meet him and see. And I was impressed with the young man. So I said, okay, he can attend. So he's in the class, and we had this thing called newspapers. Of the entire class of all these different people, most people are just watchers. They're spectators. They're not getting on the field. They're not doing what I tell them to do. But the kid, he got the newspaper out. He started circling the ads, everything I said. He'd be bored at school. And he brought it home to his dad. They started calling, and they call this one ad, and they find a motivated seller. They bring it to class Wednesday night. So I got my phone, my speaker phone, and I go ahead and I put the speaker on. And I say, okay, and right on the board. And we're doing the thing, and I'm talking to the guy. I say, okay, well, that sounds fair. So you'll take this much cash. Okay, great. And it needs this in repair. Okay, great. Well, if everything checks out, consider it sold. And I said, okay, well, we'll get you the contract tomorrow, and we'll get right on this. We'll get you everything you need, and we can probably close in a week or two with cash. Okay, great. Boom. Everybody's like sitting there going, it's a real deal. And the kid brought it. And it's like, I said, okay, who's got money? What? Yeah, this is how you do it. Kid, you don't have any money, do you? No. You don't have experience? No. Great. So we bring it to class. Among all the people here, somebody's got the cash for this deal. Would you agree it's a deal? We did the numbers? Yes. Great. This older man, he had the little, gray hair, a little heavy set, and he was like a regional vice president manager type thing. And he said, I'm real busy. It's all I can do to just get to this class on Wednesdays because I got this territory and I make all this money. And I've got the cash. I just don't have the time to deal with it. That's fine. You could be a lender or you could be an owner. It's up to you. We'll work it out. But you decide, and I'll work with you. But if you got the cash, buy the house. We'll take care. We'll work it all out. So okay. So we worked with him as the buyer. Now, I pull the kid aside. I said, kid, see that guy over there? We call the kid Johnny. So Mr. Bob, this business executive, Bob the business executive, he's got the cash. Sounds like he's going to buy it, but he needs help. Now, I know you don't have a car, but your dad could help or family could help. You need to contact him, bug him if you have to, and say, I want to stay involved with this. I can cut the grass. 14 years old, you can cut the grass. 14 years old, you can clean the house. 14 years old, you can paint the house. You can paint, you can clean, you can cut the grass, you can contribute value. Okay, you do it? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good. And the kid did exactly what I told him. He was coachable. So next thing I know, about 2 weeks later, we have a Wednesday night class. He said, I just closed on that deal. Great. And I'm going to go there Saturday. Great. So the whole class was invited to come Saturday morning to go see the house and everything. Very exciting, right?
Yeah.
So the kid and the house and everything else. So we go to the house and the kid's out there cutting the grass and doing the thing. And he's there early and they're all there early. We got the class and he shows around everything. And we're like, ooh and ah, this is cool. It's like, because I've never done a deal before. And that quick, they get an actual deal. This is exciting. So then what ends up happening is, well, we're going to lunch, Bob. You want to come with us? No? Johnny? No. Johnny's got to keep working. I only got this little time because I have my work schedule. I got to be back on the road on Monday. I got to get everything done as I can this weekend. Oh, we understand. We're going to lunch. We go to lunch. We had, 12, 15 people there out of the class, and about half came back after lunch. We come up, Bob says, you wouldn't believe what happened while you're going to lunch. What? Well, I'm out here, straightening out the house and doing everything. And a guy came up in his car and his family and said, say, we've been driving around and we've seen this house sitting vacant here for a little while, but didn't have anybody to contact anybody, didn't see anybody here. Would you consider selling this house? Said, yeah, everything's for sale. Well, can I see it? Sure, come on in and see it. So he and his wife and kids, and they're all going around, we love this house. We want the house. He said, we just sold another house. We've got the cash. We'd like to take the house as is. Don't fix anything. Don't paint anything. Don't do anything. We want it. What kind of deal would you make us as is? This house as is. Now, keep in mind, they're an owner-occupant. They're a retail buyer. Mm-hmm. They're not investor. They're not looking for this big discount. Yeah. So he sells it to him, and he makes $28,000. He literally just closed the house, made $28,000, and he doesn't have to do anything else. Perfect. He closed on it, but now he's going to wholesale it. Yes. But it's not even wholesale because he's selling it to an owner-occupant, so it's like a wholesale, which is a hybrid. It's halfway between retail and wholesale because there's a discount for the work it needs, but the people taking it, they're going to do the work and all that. So he got a really good $28,000 profit on this deal, like that. Yeah. But it's a good neighborhood, good demand, everything else. So what ends up happening is he's so impressed with the kid, he decided to make the kid a 50-50 partner. That kid at 14 years old made $14,000 in 90 days. Wow. Wow. So at that time in 2000, it was 25, hard to believe it's 25 years ago. I had a radio talk show in Dallas on KRLD. And KRLD is the station that the Dallas Cowboys would be on Sunday afternoon. And it's at the Texas Stadium. It's fantastic. So I have this radio show there. So I invite the kid in and I interview the kid. And so he's 14 years old and he's sitting across from me. And I said, okay, Johnny, I have adults driving around in the car right now listening to radio in their 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s, all telling me that they can't do real estate. And they got all these reasons and all these excuses. They say, I don't have the experience. You must have a lot of experience, Johnny. I'm a 14-year-old kid. This is my first time in the class. I just did what you said. Oh, okay. Well, but they say you got to have credit. You must have good credit, Johnny. I'm a 14-year-old kid. I don't have credit, but you got a good job. You got to have a good job. You have income. No, I don't have a job. I'm a 14-year-old kid. I live at home with my parents and go to school. We go, well, but, you know, and I went down the list of all the excuses that people give me about why they can't do real estate. The job, the credit, the experience, this, the that, the whatever. I said, so Johnny, if you don't have any of these things, all these adults listening out here tell me they got to have, what do you have that they don't? He leaned forward and almost like secret, like he's whispering very intently. He said, burning desire. He'd been reading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. His dad had him reading that, and the chapter, Burning Desire, he seized it, and he applied it, and here he made $14,000 in this class in 90 days.
Wow.
Isn't that a wow?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got all kind of videos about all kind of stuff. If people contact me, I send you. And like the 14-year-old girl, I mean, it's an amazing story. You got to hear. How does a 14-year-old girl get $6,000 cash at 14? It's in the video. I'll share.
And can you tell them again where?
And how you get hold of me is you text me. That's the best way to reach me. 832-766-6997. 832. That's a Houston number. 832-766-6997, or look me up online, Mark, M-A-R-K, Pantak, P-A-N-T-A-K. If you go on YouTube, you'll see there's quite a few videos like this of me teaching lots of places. You'll get a lot of value just listening to those other videos.
Awesome.
And then I do a free, once a month at least, the first Wednesday of the month, a free nationwide Zoom. We have people on networking and we're helping each other, and it's fantastic.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, Mark, thank you so much again for your time
today.
It
has been great.
Truly appreciate it. You know, there's so much nuggets, very profound and mind blown.
Yes.
So
well,
thank you so much.
Can I leave one last thing real quick?
Yes, definitely.
You're into raising capital.
Yes.
And you're going to be raising capital for buying what, mostly?
So mostly will be for, I have one right now. I have a fund of funds for a high-rise development in Uptown Dallas.
Oh, okay. In Dallas, too. Interesting.
And so kind of funny. And it's for that area of Uptown Dallas that's like they're building on the financial buildings.
Yes.
Goldman Sachs is opening one of their campuses there.
Ah.
And this is for people to build there to be able to accommodate the people that are working there to be able to stay here.
Okay.
So raising capital for that.
And so is this a private placement? Is this SEC, Securities Exchange?
Yes. It's
syndication?
506C raise.
506C raise, okay.
Yes.
So I've been involved in a couple of those. I started out with a duplex. You know, we've all heard of Monopoly, play Monopoly, right? Take 4 greenhouses, and then you take the equity for 4 greenhouses, do a 1031 exchange, and do a red hotel, apartment complex. So I did a duplex, then I did a 4plex, then I did an 8-unit, then I did a 12-unit, then I did a 20-unit over time. And then I got involved with a group, and we did a 41-unit in San Antonio for about $4 million. We just closed last year on a 100-unit apartment complex. Wow. They were asking $7 million. We got it for $6.6 million for 100 doors, $66,000 a door in Abilene, Texas.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm always raising money. So part of the reason I'm here is people reach out to me and say, hey, that sounded great. How can I learn more about being a passive investor? I got people invest in apartments. I got people invest in notes. I got people invest. Some people say, I want to do a house, but I want to do something out of state because I'm in California. And so, yeah, I can help you do that. So one of the things I do all this stuff is because people reach out to me and say, I want to do this. How do I do it? And I help people do it.
Okay.
That's the ways of doing it.
And
so I've raised millions of dollars because I'm willing to get out here, get visible, and let people know. And then my mind, I write down. I literally had it where this was years ago at the Real Estate Club because I volunteered. And I got on the board of directors. And I became visible. And this older gentleman walks up to me and says, Mark, I've been watching you for 2 years, and your growth, I got $250,000. I'd like to invest with you. Now, how often would you like to have that happen?
Every day.
Every day?
Yeah.
Well, it can. I've raised millions of dollars, and we even got a movie deal we're working on now. Back when I was in the vice president of financial planning firm. We did a movie deal. We did offset oil and gas drilling. I mean, I got so much more. You may have to have me back. I got lots more
for
to talk
sure.
about.
Yeah, definitely. We would love to get you back again.
You can tell I have fun with this.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, and I truly appreciate your time and everything today.
So make sure you contact him. How do they contact you?
I have an Instagram. It's the Justin Ng. You can reach me there. That would be the best. And eventually I'm going to put everything on the YouTube, and you can reach me there as well.
Right, but every time, not only your guest, make sure they know what you're doing and how they can reach you.
Okay.
Because somebody might hear what you just said and say, "Well, I need to learn more about that," and then you'll be able to contact you.
Exactly.
Well, once again, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mark. Appreciate your time today. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.